I was leading a rescue mission in Syria when the hospital called. Your daughter is in critical condition, the nurse said. Your husband's new wife hurt her. And the detective won't act, her brother is the police chief. Without knowing who I am. Next morning, military at their door. Welcome to revenge with Lyra, sand in my teeth, rotor wash in my ears, a boy's hand in mine as we crossed the alley toward the convoy. Then the sat phone vibrated against my plate carrier like a hummingbird trapped under Kevlar. I almost let it go to voicemail. You don't take calls mid-extraction, but something called at a mother's radar made me answer. The voice was raw, breathy. This is St. Francis, Children's. Your daughter is in critical condition. My brain didn't process the words in order. Daughter critical. My tongue tasted copper. What happened? A pause. Paper rustled somewhere behind her, a monitor beeped too fast. Your husband's new wife brought her in. She said a fall, but the injuries, they don't align. The nurse swallowed. I called the detective. He's not moving on it. Why? Because her brother is the police chief. The alley narrowed. My world narrowed with it. I watched my team load the boy and his grandmother into the truck, mouths moving in a language I couldn't hear over the rushing in my skull. Listen to me, the nurse whispered, stealing courage from someplace nobody had given her. If you want the truth to come out, it's on you for a beat. The war zone around me was quieter than the phone line. I said, prep her chart, don't discharge, document everything, photograph everything, chain of custody, on every item of clothing. I'm 6,000 miles away, but I'm coming. Ma'am. She started. The line clicked dead. Not her fault, mine. I was already moving. I handed my second the sat phone and the last of the instructions for the handoff, take them to Gaziantep, keep the convoy rolling. You're breaking protocol. He said, not accusing, stating a fact. Protocol doesn't raise my kid, I said, wheels up in 3030. Turned into 21 our pilot owed me from Kabul. He didn't ask why. On the runway, heat shimmered off the tarmac like a mirage of all the things I thought were solid. As the bird clawed for altitude, I stared at the map on my lap, at the ocean between a mother and the room where her daughter lay under lights too bright for small eyes. Here's the thing about systems, they keep secrets for the people who build them. And the moment a system chose my daughter's pain as its price of silence, it made itself my enemy. What happens when the people sworn to protect become the ones who disappear a child's truth? You stop asking permission. I crossed off 3 names on a list I'd kept for years: the detective, the chief, the woman who brought my girl in with a story she couldn't sell to a nurse with a conscience. I wasn't flying home to scream, I was flying home to pull every lever they thought belonged to them, and when the plane touched down, their power would start to shrink on camera, on paper, in court, until the only thing left of their protection was a headline about how it failed. The air hit me like a wall when the plane door opened, humid, heavy, wrong, not the air you want in your lungs when you know your child is breathing it from a hospital bed. My boots hit the tarmac before the stairs were fully locked. I had no suitcase, no pause, no script for pleasantries, just one backpack with the documents I'd need to strip people of power. A black SUV waited. The driver didn't speak English. Didn't need to. He knew the route: St. Francis Children's Hospital, straight through the city's sleeping arteries. Streetlights streaked across the windows, turning my reflection into something I barely recognized, hair flattened by a headset, eyes that hadn't blinked enough to cry. The nurse was waiting for me in the ER hallway, no smile, no small talk, just a slow shake of her head before she led me in. The room was too white. My daughter's skin was too pale. Machines hummed, beeped, hissed, as if her small body had been turned into a battlefield of its own. She's stable for now. The nurse whispered, but you need to see this. She pulled back the blanket. My breath locked, dark bruises and shapes you don't get from falling, tiny finger marks on her wrist, too small to be mine, too cruel to belong to someone who should have loved her. I touched her hair gently. Who did this to you? Baby? Her eyelids fluttered, but she didn't wake. The nurse slid a sealed evidence bag onto the counter, inside the clothes she'd arrived in, still damp, in places I didn't want to think about. I documented everything, photos, timestamps. I also recorded my call with the detective. You recorded it? I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. She nodded when he said, drop it. I knew. You'd need proof. That was when the door opened without a knock. She walked in like she owned the place, the woman my husband had married while I was still learning to breathe after the divorce papers. Her perfume hit first, then her voice: syrup over poison. You're here. She said, almost smiling, we should talk before you do anything rash. I stood slowly, every inch of me shifting from mother to something she didn't want: meat. No, I said, stepping closer, we're going to talk after I make 3 calls, the first to a lawyer, the second to a journalist, and the third. I glanced toward the nurse, who gave the smallest nod to someone who outranks your brother. Her smile faltered. You don't know what you're starting. I looked at my daughter. You have no idea what I'm finishing. By the time she left the room, her perfume had already been erased by the scent of antiseptic and rage. The nurse handed me a slip of paper, 3 numbers, 3 names, allies. She said, you'll need them. The first number belonged to a man whose voice could move court dates forward without permission. The second to a journalist who had built a career exposing the kind of people who thought they were untouchable. The third. The third was the kind of number you never store in your phone. You keep it on paper, because some names can't be linked to you until it's too late for anyone to stop what's coming. I stepped into the hallway and called the journalist first, who's protecting her. I asked silence on the other end, then a slow exhale. I've been waiting for someone inside the family to talk. He said, they've kept their hands clean for a decade, but I've got files sealed, police reports, hospital logs, you're the missing piece. We agreed to meet before dawn. When I returned to my daughter's room, she was still asleep, but her hand had shifted just enough for me to see the tiny hospital bracelet, her name, her date of birth, and the word victim. It felt wrong seeing it there. She wasn't a victim, not anymore. I left the hospital just before 4 a.m. The city was still sleeping, but I wasn't. My cab dropped me at a side entrance to a parking garage, no cameras, no attendants, just one familiar figure leaning against a car.